Hello, screenwriters. Welcome back to Five Questions with a Screenwriter. And we have two screenwriters today with us. This is a first. So hopefully, I don't mess up too much. But yeah, so we have Mark Molaterney and Vasilios Papapisios. Vasilios also, he said it's okay. I could call him silly. So if you hear me say silly, like I'm not saying anything bad to him. Gentlemen, welcome to the show, and please correct me if I butchered any of the names.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
no. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
All right, of course, of course. All right, so let's get started. We're gonna start with question number one. What are three screenplays every new writer should read, in your opinion?
Um, it's a tough question because I feel like there's so many different types of writers, and ways to tackle a script. Um, and in all honesty, I feel like I need to keep reading more scripts as a writer. But I do have a couple of selections that I feel like they're more like personal choices. My first one, and I think Vasilios also agrees with me on this one, is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Yeah, it's my favorite movie. And I think very much because it is probably the greatest script of all time. It just has everything that you would want in a story. I think it's got a great premise. Um, the detail with which it's written, it's very technically impressive. Like the structure of the script is kind of as many times as I've watched it, I'm always kind of like puzzled by how he figured out how to tell this story in such a way that was so innovative and yet still so clear. Um, yeah, and it's just a beautiful, heartfelt movie. Like there could be scripts that are very technically impressive, but just not quite so touching. Um, and one thing that is like always a really nice added bonus for me is a title that has some sort of like dramatic irony or greater meaning when you get to the end of the story, whether it's a book or a movie. And Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is actually the opposite of like that phrase on its own is sort of the opposite of what the theme of the movie is, which is that it's better to have loved someone and experienced the pain of it than to never have experienced it at all, right? So the spotless mind is not bliss. Um, and yeah, I just think that's really beautiful. Um, and then for my other two options, I would say like whatever TV show you love, probably the pilot. For me, I love Girls. Been a big inspiration for me. I've read that pilot a few times. Just seeing how Lena Dunham like laid out the story for Hannah so clearly in that first episode, even though it is one of those types of shows that feels like it's not um, super plot heavy. There's still like a clear character arc and character journey starting in episode one. And also the voice of the show is so clear right from the first episode. And then I think like for somebody trying to learn maybe to write their first script, I would probably just look at another one that's like really technically sound. Like something recent that was really impressive to me was Anatomy of a Fall. It is such an impressive, um, just the way the story was laid out and the way that the writer left a great deal of like ambiguity. I find that it's very tricky to balance the way that you disperse information as a writer, to keep the audience intrigued and to arrive at this surprising yet inevitable ending that is really sort of like, to me, like the pinnacle of a good story and climax. And Anatomy of a Fall, I think, is is one of the best scripts of the last few years. Those would be my three choices.
I like how you provided like a older, not that old, but an older classic, like a newer piece, and then like a TV. Like I think that's well rounded. Basilios, how about you? Like, what are your top three screenplays you think every new writer should read?
So yeah, I think, well, I definitely think Eternal Sunshine. It's just like for me, like for both of us, I think we really are attracted to a lot of magical realism, and um, that film just really spoke to me when I watched it and looked through the script. Um, I would say another favorite of mine, just because I think it is a very clear, like clean story, is Little Miss Sunshine. Um, it has very distinct characters, but it's a technically it's I think smart, and it's very clear as far as the plot goes. And yeah, I think that's a good entry point for someone who wants to look at the flow of a story and you know, through the different acts. And lastly, I mean, there's a lot. I too, like, I probably read less scripts than Mark does, but I watch a ton of film and TV. And sometimes I like to, if you can get the scripts, to like watch the pilot or film and kind of study it with the script, like as you're watching it. And you know, sometimes you get scripts that are a little different, but it's interesting to see how things can change from the script to the screen as well, and to track how the writing translates. Um, but I would say Cloud Atlas is one of my favorite films, and um, as an adaptation, I think it was really impressive because it's hard to do, and it is such a complex film, and yet it's still so touching. And through all of the layers and storylines, it's like, yeah, it's quite complicated. Um, so it's more of a challenging script to read and understand, and even a challenging film to watch at sometimes. But I think that is like a masterclass in how to layer story and have them flow into each other.
So now, being writing partners, I'm assuming you guys knew about Eternal Sunshine, that both of y'all liked it. Did you know about the other two? Like, did you, Mark? Did you
I
know
was,
Basilios?
I was literally just thinking how strange it is that the first script I ever wrote was sort of like very inspired by Little Miss Sunshine. And
Nice.
then a short film I wrote, my short film thesis project in university was very inspired by Cloud Atlas. But
Wow,
we've never talked about this before, so it's kind of funny that that just came up. Yeah.
that is so cool. That is so cool. All right. And Basilios, we can start with you with this one. Question number two. What is something a screenwriter will never learn in a book?
So I think, you know, the praxis of writing, like going from dreaming and planning um, to really starting to write dialogue and finding your voice, like finding your distinctive voice and learning how to pivot from the plan you had because your character is evolving and you're evolving as a writer. Um, that's something that I definitely experienced, especially in the first couple years of writing. And yeah, allowing yourself to have room for discovery and to know, like, you're not going to have your voice until you start writing. Um, you can plan a lot and dream a lot, but nothing beats just doing it.
Yep. And Mark?
Mm, I think like knowing what to write about. Um, I struggle with this all the time. It's like you kind of are weighing what seems like it could get you to the next stage in your career, whether you're aiming to win a competition or um, sell a script or just express yourself emotionally. You're kind of whatever follow your inspiration. These things are always sort of fighting with each other, and a book can't tell you what to do. And I think also like having a story that's worthwhile to tell that comes from life experience and like digging deep into yourself, I think, and um that to me is theme. And sometimes I think to myself like, oh, I wish I didn't go to film school. I wish I had studied something else in university so that I would have found inspiration on what to write about a little bit earlier, you know. So I think that's something that a book can't give you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know to this day I still struggle with what to write, and I think I've landed on science fiction. So I think I'm good. I'm good for now.
Mhm.
All right, all right, Mark. This one's for you. Question number three: what is the greatest character arc you've seen in the story?
Um, yeah, I think it probably lean back on Eternal Sunshine. Like it really is. It really is my favorite script, and I think it makes sense for me that it's my favorite character arc also because what is a story other than a character's journey? Um, and I love again the dramatic irony of his journey. He starts off being so heartbroken that he wants to erase his relationship from his memory, and in the end, the experience of doing that shows him that he doesn't want that at all, actually. And you know, the last scene where he tells Clementine that that it's okay, he just wants to do it all over again, um, is so like touching. I think about it all the time. And it's perfectly played by Jim Carrey. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Vasilios, how about you?
Like, okay. One of my favorite TV shows is How to Get Away with Murder, and I just love Viola Davis in this role as Annalise Keating. Um, she's like the most brilliant criminal defense attorney, and she's like also technically very corrupt, um, and protective of her family and her students. She stands by her own ethics. Um, but yeah, she goes through hell and loses everything. She loses her house, she loses her job, she loses her family. She almost dies like twice. It's very drama. Um, and then she rebuilds everything and wins like the biggest class action lawsuit, to help people and fight corruption in the government. So I like that this balance of good people do bad things and someone technically bad can do some really great things. Um, she's all over the place, and I mean that woman cries so much. She's great. I love her. Um, yeah, that's my favorite arc right now.
You know what? I've never seen the show, but I have to add it on my list. All right. It's for you, Vasilios. What was the first screenplay you wrote, and what was that writing process like?
So the first screenplay I wrote, and I've always been a writer. Like I loved poetry, I loved creative writing in school. I almost minored in poetry and performance art, but I never really wrote scripts until Queerdos. And Queerdos was Mark and I's very first project together. That in 2020, early 2020, Mark had approached me and he was kind of doing research for one of the characters he was building for a project under a different title. And that snowballed into what became our writing relationship that you see today. I didn't have a formal foundation it was a lot of learning for me, and I got to be curious and explore, and it was beautiful to be able to do that with a friend who knew more than I did, and we also were in kind of discovery together during this process. Something we learned, or and I learned from it, was we spent a ton of time developing Queerdos. 8 months or something. I don't know. What do you think it was?
It was insane. It was the pandemic, so there was like nothing to do, and we would just meet and like dream up stories, but we did way too much. I mean,
We
and I
built
think,
worlds.
yeah, I mean, we have like 5 seasons of plot and character arcs and like little side characters. Like it really is like it's almost like The Simpsons. It's my comparison of how like in depth we got into this world of the characters. But yeah, in retrospect, I don't think it was necessary
It
exactly.
was fun, mind you. Like it was the pandemic. We had a great time. Like it's a comedy, it's a magical realist, absurdist dramedy, actually. And we laughed a lot. It kept us entertained, and it felt like we were stretching a lot of new limbs, of our writing. But the thing that I learned was like, which goes back to the answer I gave earlier about what a screenwriter wouldn't learn in a book, was we planned and planned and planned, and then had
Mhm.
this story structure laid out, what we thought was it, and then we started writing, and it changed. And it changed, and things change, and they must change. You need to have a dozen edits of a script. Um, you have to kill your darlings, and we have like a scraps folder, and I'm always like, no, but we're like, we have to let it go, and maybe we'll add it in another place. um yeah, so doing the writing actually informs the process way more than anything else. And yeah, it was just a wonderful sort of fever dream. During the pandemic, we got to explore magical realism, and we discovered our voice, started to discover
Mhm.
voice as writers who write together in that process, and sort of started learning how to balance each other out as a team. I think we have complementary aspects to each other. So yeah, it was a great learning experience, and learning how to negotiate a functional writing relationship as well.
And Mark, was Quiddles the first script you ever written as well, or was there something else?
No, I wrote my first. I started my first feature like as early as, I don't know, 15, 16 or something. I can't say I finished it. No, I definitely didn't finish it. The first one I finished, I was maybe around like 23, 24. Um, Feature script. Actually, I had written longer scripts in university writing classes and stuff like that. But my first feature script that I think sort of started to like set my tone as a writer, a professional writer, was this one that I mentioned earlier. Very inspired by Little Miss Sunshine. Uh, I had spent like maybe 2 years in California by then, in Los Angeles, met some characters, got inspired by them, and wrote this kind of like family ensemble um, that was split into like each act was a sort of a different major event in the family's life. It was like started with a funeral, then a wedding, then a birth, I think. And I haven't read it again for a long time. I'm not sure how good it is. It didn't really like result in anything, but I think that's just part of the process also. I mean, you need to write a lot in order to find success, and to get better. Like every script that I work on, whether it's a script that we're working on together or um, something I'm doing by myself, it feels like I'm learning something new and getting better as a writer.
All right,
Definitely.
all right. This is the final question, and Mark, we're gonna go to you with this one. Okay, so you get to plan and go on a non-romantic date slash hangout with your current main character. What does that date look like?
Well, our current main character is heavily inspired by Silly's grandmother. Um, and it's the story set in 1970, South Carolina. So she's about 40 at this point, and she's a single mom with two daughters living with her. And what I would do with her is probably cook and have a meal with her because this is like something that comes up in the story all the time, and it's something that like we even mentioned about her in the first character description that we wrote. And she, to me, just feels like a character that I would kind of want to quietly be there and observe and listen to her like tell stories while she's and boss me around while she's making dinner. Um, so yeah, that would be my activity with her, and I want to try Edna's fried chicken.
Wait,
Yeah.
so who would be doing the cooking, you or her?
I'll like be her sous chef. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Vasilios, how about you? What, how would you hang out with your current main character?
So Edna is my grandma's name, and our main character is Edna. Um, she was an amazing and an interesting grandmother. R.I.P. So I don't know, like sitting on a porch at night with her, just sort of maybe in a rocking chair. I could see like there's probably a like, thunderstorm happening. She was really funny, and I would give anything to have another moment with her and catch up with her. And actually, as an adult now, just ask her some big questions that I never thought to ask when she was alive and I was younger. And yeah, just like talk shit. Honestly, she could talk shit about people in the funniest way. Um, it was probably something to do with her like self esteem or something, but she cracked us up. Um, and she was a go getter. Yeah, I just like, sit on a porch with Mima, young version, and hang out.
I love it. I mean, I love it. That's great. All right. This has been Five Question with screenwriters Mark Moliterni and Vasilios Papapisios. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing the show. Before we wrap up, I do want to say, is there anything you're currently watching, TV or film that you've seen that recently that you could recommend to our viewers?
Yes, I am a big fan of anime. And there's a show called Pluto that I think is like I didn't mention it earlier, but it's an hour long drama, and they have one season, but it is the most profound like narrative anime I've ever seen. Um, it's very interesting. It's very relevant to today, but it's set slightly in the future. I would recommend watching Pluto. I cried a lot, and it's anime. It's like, what am I crying? I'm crying over anime. It's good. It's good. So if you're a fan of anime, or even slightly interested, just watch the first episode and see what you think.
By you, Mark?
I'm rewatching The Deuce, which I feel like was a really underrated HBO show. I mean, it's short, it's only three seasons, which I like. And they do each kind of function as like act one, act two, act three of the story. Um, it's David Simon. I always get his name confused, but I believe it's David Simon who did The Wire. So just like this big ensemble of characters in New York in the 1970s. I found it really inspiring, and I don't think enough people watched it. It's a great story.
The Deuce, so it's probably on HBO Max right now, then, huh?
Yeah.
And then how about Pluto? What's that on?
Pluto's on Netflix.
So okay, got it. Okay. Okay. So while I have you guys, though, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is my first interview where I've interviewed like two individuals at the same time. With that being said, how did you guys meet as writing partners?
I think, did we officially, the first time we met was really in Mark's next door neighbor's apartment,
Yeah.
which led to us, like literally the next couple days led to me working. Mark hired me for a production, and then we trauma bonded over this very nightmarish experience that we had. And though it was challenging, we sort of became close friends. And that was in 2019. I want to say in May is when that started. And then by beginning of 2020, Mark approached me and wanted assistance with a script he was writing and developing a specific character. And it kind of
I like always felt that Philly was such a funny, interesting person to like talk to and watch. I kind of was thinking of writing something that we could film that he could act in or something. And so I started coming up with this character for Queerdos that was inspired by Silly, and then Silly came in and we just changed the whole thing and rewrote it basically. Yeah.
Cool. And then my follow-up question is, I know you guys written screenplays individually. So what are some of the advantages of like having a screenwriting partner?
It's better than AI. Well, honestly, we love bouncing. I love just throwing out ideas, and Mark kind of catches them. And sometimes we use those things, but for me, I think I understand the balance we have that we've crafted over. We've now been writing for 5 years, where in some ways Mark brings more structure to the table, which I really appreciate, as a less disciplined, less structured person and writer. And I don't know, whenever I have a thought or something that I can't really decide on, it's great because I have a writing partner to brainstorm with. Do you think this works? Does that sound dumb? So yeah, we support each other individually, and when we work on our solo projects, we support each other, and when we work together, we support each other. It's just it's good.
Brainstorm, break it down, make a dream, create a scene with Stratword.